Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 27 of B-Road Ballers, the review series for the hot hatches of Gran Turismo. And we're featuring a pretty interesting car in this episode, the Volvo C30R design. Now mechanically this car shares quite a lot with the Ford Focus ST. Not the 2013 shape, but the slightly older Focus, which is traditionally seen in orange, for the most part anyway. And one of the things that I actually like about this car is that it kind of reminds me of a Maserati. And that probably doesn't sound like it makes much sense. But what I mean by that is, if you want to buy an exotic car, and you like Italian cars for instance, you may want a Ferrari. But if you're the kind of person who thinks that Ferraris are a little bit too mainstream, you may want a Maserati instead, or perhaps an Alfa Romeo 8C. That is what this car represents in its most basic form. This is a car for people who find the Ford Focus ST a little bit too mainstream, too obvious of a choice. Now, I'm not saying that people who specifically aren't fans of the ST can't like this car. Of course they can, obviously. But that's basically what this car is, a more quirky alternative to the obvious and popular choice, in a very similar way to what Maserati is when compared to Ferrari. Now, interestingly, in some ways this car is actually better than the Ford Focus ST, and that's surprising for what is essentially a spin-off model. Usually, variants of a popular model generally aren't as good. Sometimes they may come close, but they're very rarely as good, and hardly ever better than the original. But on paper, the Volvo C30 is superior, and not just by a bit. In some ways, it is a lot superior to the Focus ST of its equivalent generation. Now, it's powered by a 2.5 litre turbo, just like the Focus ST. The PP, though, is higher, at 543, compared to the Focus of its shape, 540. It produces 487 horsepower, which is around the same. It's around one horsepower less, but around the same, a negligible difference. Interestingly though, it has significantly more torque, well over 50 pound-feet of torque more than the Focus ST, which is kind of strange, but cool nonetheless. As far as weight, surprisingly, they're exactly the same. They both weigh 1,171 kilos, and this car puts out fractionally less horsepower per tonne at 500, or 400 I should say, and 16. That would be good if it was 500, but it's not. 416 horsepower per tonne. The main disadvantage, I would say, of this model over the Focus is it costs more. It's 10 grand more at 42,000 credits, but still 42,000 means that it pretty much breaks even with many of the more quirky hot hatches like itself, like the Alfa 147 GTA, the Audi S3, that kind of thing. So it's pretty well placed, especially considering that, like the Focus ST, and unlike many of the hot hatches in the game, it's a premium. You get that fully detailed interior, as you can see, the modifiable bodywork, more custom wing types. You can get custom wings anyway, but more options in that kind of thing. And it just looks better overall. It's got a higher quality, as you'd expect from any premium car. What about actual performance though? Well, to be honest, in a straight line, they pretty much break even. Now, the newer Focus is faster. Of course, the 2013 model has significantly more power, but against the 2006 Focus ST, it fares really well. Both cars do around 210, 215, that kind of top speed without NOS or draft. The acceleration is around the same. Being a front-wheel drive car, of course, putting out 487 horsepower, it is inclined to wheel spin off the line, but like, again, many front-wheel drive cars, it has very good mid-range acceleration and is a pretty good all-round performance car for performance from its power. What about handling though? Well, the handling on the Focus, as I've mentioned before, wasn't as good as I was expecting it to be. That, of course, was on the newer model, though, the 2013. The 2006 is kind of the same, and to some degree I'd have to say this car is as well. They don't handle badly, of course not, but they don't handle amazingly well either. They just handle okay. The handling isn't bad, but it's not outstandingly good either. They can corner quickly, they can corner efficiently, and they're certainly capable of winning races. But the handling won't blow you away. It's nothing that you wouldn't expect from the car, which isn't a bad thing, of course. It's better than being disappointed. Overall, the C30 is, as I said, in effect the Maserati connection as far as this review goes. It's the quirky, interesting, more unique alternative for people who maybe don't want to join the crowd of people who just automatically go for the Focus ST because they assume that it's the best choice. This car is as capable as the Focus of winning hot hatch races. It's a very good all-round machine. The straight line performance is good. The handling is, as I said earlier, good, but not outstanding. Neither is the Focus, though, in my opinion. And overall, it's a good car. From a hot hatch point of view, it's one of the better models, for sure. Not necessarily one of the very best, but one of the better models. It's well above average. As far as beyond hot hatch territory, it's okay. The front-wheel drive chassis limits its ability a little bit on this one, to be completely honest. But overall, it's certainly not a bad car purely for the hot hatch category. But that's it for this episode. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.